Welcome to Mr. Mover Manager Help. Today we're going to talk about local dispatch. There are a few different ways that you can open up the local dispatch tab. You can open it from the capacity calendar simply by double clicking on a day, and it will open up the local dispatch for that day. Or you can go to the menu, go to Operations, Dispatch Local, and by clicking on this it will open up a new tab for local dispatch, but because you didn't select from the calendar, we don't know what day you're looking for, so we'll always open it up to today's date. Within the local dispatch tab, we have three basic sections. The first top area here is called the unscheduled jobs. So those are any job that you have booked for this day, but they have not been assigned to a truck yet. These blue boxes here represent the trucks that you own for the company. If the truck name is in black, that means that truck is available on that day. If it is grayed out, that means that truck is not available on that day. As you can see, if you leave the mouse on the name, it'll give you information regarding that truck. The lower section here is where we will be building loading docks once we start dragging customers down onto trucks. Let's start by looking at the unscheduled jobs area. We will show you a line representing each truck that needs to be dispatched on that day. In other words, if a job has multiple trucks needed, you will see a line for each truck for that customer. Just like on the capacity calendar, you can hold your mouse over a number of the fields and it will give you information about those particular jobs. To dispatch a job onto a truck, you simply left mouse click on it, hold it down, and drag it onto the truck that you want to put that customer on. So I'm going to release, and it creates a loading dock, and we simply flash the yellow so it's easy to see where you are. So what we do is we show you the name of the truck and the cube capacity of that truck. If this was a tractor and you needed to assign a trailer to it, you would click on this and it would bring up a list of all your trailers, and you would assign a trailer to it. So we have the truck name here. Here is the customer that we drag down onto the truck. So now what we need to do is we need to dispatch employees onto this job. You do that simply by clicking on the little picture of our employees here. And what it does is it opens up a separate window where it will list on the bottom half here all the employees that are available for work on this day that have currently not been assigned to another truck. So we list the drivers and then the helpers. So I'm going to make Henry here my driver, and then I'll make Peter my helper. Now to find out how many employees were needed on this job, right up here we tell you the required number of employees from what the salesperson was requested. So what happens when I click on an employee down below is it moves them up to the selected area. So you can see I've got Henry as the driver and Peter as the helper. Within this same area is where you set the time that you want the employees to come in to arrive to work in the morning. So simply double click on the field if you want to change it, and then you can change the time for the employees. Accept the time. Okay, so now once I've looked at, I go, yep, I like these employees. I then click this Insert Selected Employees button to add them to that job on that truck for that day. Now let's grab Sally Smith and we will dispatch her on the little yellow truck. Okay, now right now what it's doing is it's warning that the cube capacity of this customer is larger than the cube capacity of the truck. It is a warning. It will still let you do it just by clicking OK, but it's warning you that this job might not fit. And we can see that because the cube capacity of the truck is 600, and if I put my mouse over here, the cube of this one is 912, so it is probably not going to fit. So now that I know that, I'm going to take Sally Smith and I'm going to unschedule her off of this truck simply by left clicking on the name, drag it up, open up that window, and drop her back into the unscheduled jobs window. Whenever the unscheduled jobs window is empty, where we've dispatched every customer out of there, we automatically will shrink it so it looks like that, so that we have more room down below. So whenever you need to add someone back into the unscheduled jobs, you simply need to drag up there so it opens it up, and then you can drop it in. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at Glenn Close's job here and see we've only got 234 cube on this job. So I'm actually going to just grab this customer and drag it now onto the little yellow truck. So now I don't get any warning, and now I can add my 2 employees over here. I'll make Henry the driver yet and Peter the helper. Insert the selected employees, and now I'm going to take Sally and add her to the big red truck, and we don't get any warnings. And I can click on here. I need 2 employees here, so I'm going to make believe Mike's a driver, and we'll have that as a helper. Insert the selected employees. So now you can see that the unscheduled jobs window is empty, so we automatically shrunk it. We have 2 loading docks. The names of the trucks are now in green, which means that you have made a loading dock for them. If you want to add more jobs to these trucks, you can't drop it onto the name of the truck. You actually have to go to the loading dock and add the additional jobs to the loading dock. And the way you do that is you would just drag it, the second customer for this truck, right onto the second line right here. And so you can have as many customers as you want onto a truck. There's no limit. Now let's look a little closer at these loading docks and show you the different options. I've already mentioned this is the name of the truck, and this is where the trailer would go. If this was a tractor, we would not have cubic footage in here, and the cubic footage would be tied to the trailer. We also have a button here called Map Route, and by using Google Map, we will route this shipment from your office to this origin to this destination back to your office. If there was multiple customers on this truck, it would simply route the whole route that your driver has to take, finally ending up back at your office. We have a field here called Dispatch to Driver's Notes. That is a place where the dispatcher can make notes to the driver regarding his day. It isn't necessarily notes regarding this customer, but possibly when he's done with this job, he has to go help the other truck, or he needs to take the truck in for maintenance when he's done. So it's a way for dispatch to make a note to the driver. We also have a field where you're identifying where the crew is supposed to report in the morning for this day. You can set up defaults. So right now the meeting location is the office. To set up these locations, you go to Administration, Lists, Resources, and Meeting Locations. And then if you open one up here, you type in anything you want, and if you make it the default location, that is the default that's automatically going to get filled in there, and then you can always change it. On this same line, we're going to tell you how many jobs are on the truck, and we'll indicate based on the number of men you have assigned to this how long of a day they're supposed to have. So again, if you have multiple jobs on this truck, let's say we add another 4-hour job after Sally, it would tell you that their day is currently going to be a 10-hour day because you have 2 employees that are dispatched onto that job, and we're under the 2-men column. So we'll tell you that then it would be a 10-hour day. So now let's look at the actual customer file within the loading dock. You'll notice a print checkbox here. You have the ability to print paperwork right from dispatch, so that if you've got 4 jobs or 10 jobs for that day, you can print out all the paperwork with one click of the mouse instead of having to go into each customer file. This checkbox allows you to print whichever customers you want to. So if you only want to print for one customer, you can uncheck the other one and just print for this one. We tell you the type of pricing that it is, the customer file. Now the one thing about this is, because once it's been dispatched onto a truck, you can no longer see the task or the dispatch notes. So if you want to see those, you now have to do the mouse over on the name to show that information. And just like with the calendar or the unscheduled jobs, you can mouse over the addresses in order to see the addresses. Now let's look again at adding employees to the job or editing. So now let's say for some reason I don't want this helper to be on here. If I click this button again, it's going to open up the window and it's going to show the driver and helper that are assigned to this job. If I want to remove an employee from a job, I simply uncheck this mark and it's going to move it back down into the available employees. Now, let's say you need to schedule an employee that is currently scheduled on another truck. Because they're on another truck, they're not going to show up in this list here, so you can't add them to the second truck. The way we get around that is we've added another tab here called the scheduled employees. This is going to show you all of the other employees that are assigned to other trucks. So now if I decide that when Peter's done with his first job, he's going to go help Mike on this second job, I can click this, and it now allows you to double dispatch an employee onto two different trucks, and simply inserting the selected employees. So now you can see I've got Peter as the dispatcher on, as the helper on both of these jobs here. So again, remember, the only way you can do that is when you go into this window, you have to click on this tab here to see employees that are dispatched on other trucks. It's kind of a way just to make sure you don't accidentally double dispatch people. Now, another thing that we offer in this screen is this button right here, which says Calculate Hours. By clicking this button, we are going to show you right here the hours that the employee either has worked for this week or is scheduled to work. So it's a very easy way to see whether or not they're getting into overtime. So that's a very important button. We also give you a clear checked employees. If you don't like any of the employees in there, you simply click it. Are you sure? And it's just going to take them all out. You'll go back to the available employees, and they're back in the available employees list. So if I want to right now not assign any employees to this job, I can simply insert selected employees. It's warning me that the number of men is less than required. I'm going to say yes, I know that. So now I don't have any employees again. If I want to, I can also drag this job and make it the second job on this truck. So there you can see now it has made the little yellow truck available again because we've closed out that loading dock. And on the big red truck, we've got these two customers, and what we do is we create a third line now, so that if you need to add a third job, it can do that. By default, we assume that you want to use the same employees on the second job that you have on the first job. But if for some reason you want to change, let's say this helper can't work that long, you can simply click on the people for the second job, and we'll take Peter out of there, and we'll make Danny the helper for the second job. So now you can see Peter will work on the first one for the first 6 hours, and then he's going to leave, and Danny's going to come in and take care of the second one. And if we decide that we don't like any of that, we can simply grab, drag it, drop them back in, and they are now completely undispatched again. The two trucks are available. I just want to show you, I'm going to have one dispatch here just so you can see how it looks in the calendar area. Okay. Now let's take a quick look at the menu options within the local dispatch tab. First of all, here's your date. So if you want to, when you're done with this day, you don't have to close out of the tab and go back to the calendar and select another day. You can simply change the dates here, and it will change the local dispatch tab for that date. The company selection, if you have multiple companies and one dispatcher is responsible for one company and another one is responsible for another, you can select which companies you're looking at. The print button here is, as I mentioned, the ability to print documents. So when you click on this, it's going to bring up a list of all of the documents that you want to print, and whatever you select, it will print those documents for any customer that has this print button checked. The reports area, there are 4 different reports that you can print from the dispatch area. The crating needed per customer, this is designed to allow, it'll create a list of all the crating that needs to be done for any customers on this particular day, so that you can print that out and supply it to a warehouse man if you want to make the crates ahead of time. Daily packing / equipment needed per customer. This again is also designed to supply to the warehouse ahead of time, so if you want them to pull packing material and have it ready for the driver in the morning, or any special equipment that's needed, it will create a report by truck and then by customer listing the equipment and packing needed for that day. The schedule report, I'll actually run that one. This is when you're done dispatching, it creates what we call a dispatch sheet that you can print out and have a hard copy of your schedule. So as you can see, the report looks like this. It's going to tell you the date. Here's the truck, the meeting location, the customer, work order number, cube weight. So there's a lot of information. Plus it lists the driver and helper positions, who's actually working on that job. If there were multiple trucks, it would simply list each truck down the page. Alright, I'll close out of that report and let's look at our last one. This is the unscheduled jobs report. If for some reason you want to print out a list of all the jobs that are still unscheduled for this day, that's what that report will give you. Under the additional tools, we have check all and uncheck all. That represents this printing feature right here. So if for some reason you want to uncheck all of them and then only check one, that's an easy way to do it. The reordered trucks option allows you to dictate what order the trucks show up in these loading docks. An example for why you'd want to do that is if you've got a 3-truck office move and you want to see all 3 trucks on the screen, you can reorder them so you can put them all together and then you can see all the crews that are on it. The last one is the summaries, and you have a daily summary and an interstate summary. The daily summary is what's applicable for local dispatch, and what that supplies for you is the ability to see in a new tab the trucks and the time of day, and it'll list all the customers and information graphically on a spread table basically, so that you can see how long each crew is working. Okay, I will close out of that tab. I think that takes care of that. The resources button is another powerful tool that you can use. If you click on this window, it's going to bring up a list of the employees that are currently available for work. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this simply because we've created a separate video to explain this window. And then we just have a refresh button if you've been in this screen and something has changed on a customer file, so you can hit the refresh button to get the latest information. We've also included a couple right-click features. If the job is still unscheduled, you can right-click to open up the customer file. The customer knows the start time, which would change the name to red, which means the customer has been told what time they can be expecting your crew, or just close this window. You can also right-click down here and same thing, but you can also print paperwork for a specific customer this way. If you have 3 or 4 customers within a loading dock and there's a gap in between them, you can click this button and it'll remove any spaces so that you have a customer in the first spot, a customer in the second spot, a customer in the third spot, and there's no spaces in between there. The last right click we have is for the vehicles. You can open up the vehicle record, actually go to the, it's the same as operations, resources, vehicles. This will open up the vehicle record for the big red truck. You can see there, big red truck. And you can also show the dock. So if you've got 40 trucks that you're dispatching and you want to find this particular one, you simply do this and it's going to bring your screen to that and it'll flash yellow so you can find this dock. And then you have cancel. Now let me show you just a few more tricks when it comes to the employee area here. If you leave your mouse over an employee's name, we're going to show you their skills. The idea being before you assign an employee to a particular job, you can see what their skills are and make sure that they have the necessary skills to do the job that you're looking for. Also, you can double click on the employee's name and it will open up their employee file. We will close this window now by inserting. I'm going to add Sally back to this truck again, so we have 2 jobs on there for a total of 12.5 hours. You'll notice we show you the job start time here. So 7:30 is the default start time, and because it's a 6.5 hour job, the computer automatically calculates the end time. It then assumes that the start time for the second job is going to be 2 o'clock. You have the ability to change these job start times simply by clicking on the time, and it opens up a window just like in the employee area, and you can change the time. So if for some reason this job you think is going to start at 3 o'clock, you can change it here, and then it'll automatically change the end time to reflect the estimated time that the salesperson came up with. This start time automatically will be directed into the customer's file. So if I right click and open up the customer file for Sally, and I go to the dispatch tab, we can see that the actual start time right here within the customer file is 3 o'clock. This is coming from the dispatch area. Okay, I'm going to close out Sally's file. Last thing I wanted to show you is after you're done dispatching, actually I'm going to take Sally back off of here again. Okay, I'm going to go back to the calendar. You'll notice that the calendar changes here so that if I leave my mouse on the trucks, it's going to show you the truck that it has been that job's been dispatched onto and the employees. Go back to our local dispatch. Well, that's everything about your local dispatch. I hope that helped.